Hello and welcome to the Top Order podcast for the first of our Champions Trophy daily reviews. Since we're operating over 2 time zones and navigating early mornings here in New Zealand, we can't guarantee we'll be here every day, but we will do our very best. So hit like and subscribe and all those good things to make sure you get all the updates. Today we're looking back at the opening game of the tournament between hosts Pakistan and the mighty Black Caps of New Zealand. Well, Raj, it's a good morning to you and to all the listeners. We were just talking off air. It's it's 7 o'clock in the morning here for us in New Zealand. So we've both caught, stayed up at night and woke up early in the morning to catch as much of this game as we could. And we were just saying off air how much we believed in Tom Latham while he was struggling in that try series. You know, all those ducks and low scores. Or you and everyone else here in New Zealand, we all believed he was the right man for the job at 5, didn't we?
Yeah, I feel like you've used we once and used you a couple of times talking about me. But look, it's a lot easier getting up in the morning after a performance like that. You're right, Tom Latham. I particularly have been a little bit critical of him over the last little while, and I think his position in that batting lineup at 5 is just blocking someone like Glenn Phillips. However, today it was obviously very, very important after the bad start. And incredible couple of partnerships for our batting to sort of get us to that 320 score. This is, if I'm going to ask you about batting, isn't this the ODI batting blueprint? You know, you want those sort of 2 big scores in the top 5 and then a lower order blitz at the end there, scoring quickly with Glenn Phillips to 50 off about 34 balls, I think. Isn't this just the blueprint that any team wants for a one-day batting performance?
I think it definitely is in Pakistan. I mean, you went on our preview show, and I talked a bit then about how these wickets, they sort of, on the face of it, they look very flat, and we sort of saw that in the first few overs today. New Zealand, Pakistan won the toss, decided to bowl first. Fakhar Zaman unfortunately gets injured 2 balls into the game. We'll come to that, I'm sure. But, after that, Will Young, Devon Conway, they got underway. The Naseem Shah and Shaheen Shah Afridi, they looked to have their pace up, but the pitch didn't have any pace in it. And then, it looked like it was going to be a score. That outfield is just so fast. And it looked like they were going to get off to a flying start. And then suddenly they lose a couple of wickets. Abrar comes on, spin again. We might talk about that a little bit later. But you have to, I think these wickets, they've shown that when you're in, you can score really, really fast. And that it doesn't really matter how good your death bowling is. You really, if someone is in those death overs, you can absolutely cash in from everything we've seen in this try series. So for Will Young and Tom Latham to put that partnership together, basically take the score, from whatever it was, about 80 for 3, I think it was, all the way through to the 38th over. I think they batted 190 odd for 3 or for 4 by the time Will Young was out for his 3rd ODI century. It really sets the game up for that in batter, and then the person coming in, particularly if we look at this New Zealand side, the likes of Phillips, Bracewell, Santner, we want them coming in. As much as you talked about, maybe Phillips could go higher. The perfect blueprint. We see how damaging he can be on these kind of wickets when he comes in that situation, and that Young and Latham partnership really set the tone and set up that platform well for everyone else to cash in later on.
Yeah, 100%. Platform is key there. I'm interested that you mentioned the field as well, because that was one thing I noticed from what I saw. The field's just been so quick over these sort of games that we've seen there in Pakistan, and it actually suits our batting. We're not going to go out there and swashbuckle at the top of the order and, Jayasuriya, Carla Withrana. We're not going to do that kind of bashing at the top of the order. But with a fast outfield like this, if the bowlers that we're playing against stray on their line at all, we're going to be able to just put them away. We're going to be able to place it in areas where we can score runs, get 2s, get 4s possibly if we put it in the right spot. And you saw, especially when they drifted down the leg side, we were able to clip them away and just score runs and at will. It didn't feel like we were struggling to score runs. And even though that we sort of didn't have that platform at the beginning, we were able to build that platform quite easily without taking too much risk. So I think that falls into our favour. What else do you want to talk about? You mentioned the Fakhar Zaman being injured. He was a sort of massive blow for the home team. Really bad luck for them. He's really dominated us over the last couple of years, 2-3 years, I think now, and it sort of played into our hand when he couldn't open the batting for Pakistan in the second innings.
Yeah, definitely. I think even just emotionally when he went off, 2 balls into the game and he goes off, and you're suddenly thinking, I'm sure, mentioned in the preview as well, what we wanted from this game is you want to take the crowd out of the scenario for the first hour, and we almost did that. New Zealand almost got to a position to do that when they were on about 30 odd for none, almost 40 for none, and then then they get back into the game, and we'll talk about Fakhar in a second because I do want to shout out Will Young, which is probably no surprise to anyone who is listening, and because I think that the way he held things together through that first half of the New Zealand innings was incredibly impressive. He went basically, what you said before. He was the perfect example of that he just found he was able to kind of defend the good balls and then know that he could find a gap. And when he found a gap, it was 4. He clipped one beautifully off. We were really getting stuck, and he clipped one beautifully off Shaheen Shafridi, off his legs, sort of through mid-wicket, hit that for 4. And you could see that everyone else that was coming in, Daryl Mitchell really got bogged down and kind of stuck. They went from, there was a stat in the commentary, they went from the 3rd over to the 24th over without anyone but Will Young hitting a boundary. And, we were really, at that point, 25 overs, we were 113 for 3. And you thought we really needed to get a move on. But what Latham and Young did so well is that they assessed that situation. They went, we just have to be there at 38, that kind of time, 38, 39 overs, and then everyone else can kick in. And they did that splendidly well. And it was, then set up for Glenn Phillips to put the icing on the cake.
Yeah, I mean, it was a tailor-made situation for those two batsmen, isn't it? I mean, I'm thinking about Latham batting at 5, and the perfect situation for him is a break glass in case of an emergency situation, and that's what it was for them. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about the batting, or should we move on to the bowling?
No, that's good. I mean, I think the Fakhar injury, I mean, we talked again before the tournament about the Sam Ayub injury and how that had sort of had an impact on Pakistan's batting lineup and how they, how it meant Baba went up the top. It sort of meant that someone else obviously has to come in. Who's that person? Where do they go? And then, same thing, Fakhar Zaman. I mean, like you said, he's been such a thorn in New Zealand's side. He terrifies me. Even when he came out to bat in this innings at 4, you see his power and you think, oh no. And what happened with him not opening the batting was just, I don't know if it was the plan or if it went that way because of New Zealand's discipline with the ball. But, that first 10 overs, Pakistan's 22 for 2 at the end of that power play. And I don't know. I mean, from a Pakistan point of view, I think you're pretty disappointed with the intent that they showed in that first 10.
Yeah, I think, it was a spanner in the works not having Fakhar Zaman out there to open the batting. That was a big change for them. I don't think they adapted well to that situation. We have criticised New Zealand, well, me personally, I won't speak for you, have criticised New Zealand for their lack of sort of execution in the field over the last sort of 12 months. The little blips they have every now and then against, Sri Lanka when they're in Sri Lanka, England in that first test over here. But not today. Their execution was great. They bowled incredible plans. The fielders then backed them up. There was a stunner of a catch by Glenn Phillips.
Oh, yeah.
Early in the middle of the innings there, I think it was.
Second, to get Rizwan, that second wicket.
And what did you make of the spin bowlers? Because they looked very, very disciplined. And this is the kind of tournament where I thought going into it, and it looked like a lot of teams bar India, were prioritising pace, really having some real speedsters in their lineup. We were doing that until we had the injuries to Lockie and Ben Sears, but it looks like spin will have a pretty big factor in determining these results as we go on. What did you make of our spinners?
Yeah, both captains at the end of the game actually made mention of the fact that it did turn more than they expected. We didn't see that kind of spin in
And
the warm up.
bounce.
Yeah, there was a Kushtil bowled one. Kushtil in his first over bowled one to, I think it was Daryl Mitchell was in at that time. Bowled it, came wide in the crease, pitched it on middle, and it just spun massively,
Mm.
bounced. There was one Santner bowled one to Salman Aliaga early on in his innings, and same kind of thing happened. Tom Latham missed a stumping because it just bounced so much. Yeah, I mean it really went at times, and on the other side, when it didn't go, it sort of kept low and stuff, and it meant that if you use your pace well, which I thought Abrar did really well for Pakistan in the first, in his first spell, and then particularly Michael Bracewell did, I thought, when he bowled to Fakhar Zaman, he was really, you could see, I mean, Fakhar just tries to go in that leg side, tries to hit sort of cow corner and really dominate those spinners. And what he was, Bracewell, you could see Bracewell's plan, as you mentioned before, was to just keep it away from him, keep it wide, keep bowl really slow at times, really make him reach it with that injury. So yeah, Santner described it as a clinical performance, and it certainly was that. I don't think there's any better way to describe it, because they were disciplined, they did everything right in the field. They, even Henry's catch to start the game off down at third man was very nice. There was another couple of good ones later on. So yeah, I thought they did a fantastic job. And yeah, I mean, if it's going to spin like this, from game one, then it's going to be a big factor. We saw Glenn Phillips. It was the two seamers who really did do a tremendous job, O'Rourke and Henry up front. But then we didn't see the third seamer Nathan Smith until the 31st over, and Phillips came on second change. Santner came on. It was mainly the three spinners working through the middle, and I thought Rizwan did a good job of doing the same for Pakistan.
Yeah, 100%. Do you What do you make of Michael Bracewell as a bowler? I feel like with him coming back into the side in the white ball stuff, it feels like he's probably that little cog that we've been missing, or that little linkage there between, that adds balance to our side with the bat and the ball. And he's clearly in spin friendly conditions. He's actually getting some really good returns. He only took one wicket, but compared to the other spinners, he was much better from an economy perspective.
Oh yeah, I think it's really showing this Tri Series and now this opening game. It's really showing that we missed him a lot in that World Cup,
Mm.
that ODI World Cup. But he got injured. I think 6 months prior to that, was it Achilles or whatever it was that kept him out for a long time, and yeah, it meant that we didn't really know who was going to sort of bat in that 7-6, 7 sort of spot. I think we had Jimmy Neesham. We turned Glenn Phillips into an all rounder, which has paid dividends. But we sort of, what we weren't quite sure who would fill that role, and now it seems. It seems inconceivable that Bracewell would miss out now for any reason, because of
Mhm.
the way that he balances that side. We've seen that he can be really damaging with the bat. He's done that a little bit in these warm-up games, but hasn't really, to be fair, had to do that. But he's been trusted with responsibility to come in and bowl. Often it's been Mitchell Santner that's had to come in and bowl in the power play, whereas in these recent games, it's been Bracewell who's come in, bowled one or two in the power play. Didn't need to today because of the way O'Rourke and Henry bowled. But I think that the fact that he's able to take those overs means Santner can at times be used more of an attacking weapon, and we're not getting to the 15th over or the 20th over, and Santner's already bowled 5 overs, and we're going, oh, okay, where do we make up the rest of these overs? So if Bracewell's able to do that early job, yeah, really, I think it really helps Mitchell Santner balance the rest of his attack. Before we leave that, the early part of Pakistan's innings, what do you make of how they went about that? Because I know we're praising New Zealand, and I think we
Mhm.
should. and they deserve a lot of praise. But I don't know. Social media is a dangerous place, but I expect that there's a lot of criticism for the way Babar Azam in particular went about things, I always feel like it's harsh to criticize someone who top scores for you. I think, oh no, maybe Kushdil Shah did at the end, but he did anchor the innings, and in a way we saw how you can, if you bat for long periods of time, you can cash in later. But I think 22 for 2 after the first 10 is not really acceptable when you're going to chase 320.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I haven't seen enough of that second innings to understand if there was a change in the pitch, or it was good bowling, or there was lack of intent with the batting. But on paper, it doesn't look great. It looks like they were batting for the last 20 overs. That's the way that we construct innings these days is so different to sort of 15, 20 years ago. It seemed to me like they wanted to get to the 30th over and try and turn this into a 2020 match and chase it down towards the end there. Unfortunately, there were 4 and then 5 wickets down in the 32nd over, needing tens. That's going to be a very hard ask for any side to chase that down. On paper, it looks like intent was a bit of an issue, if I'm to say that, but it's hard for me to say without actually seeing that live or enough highlights of it. I would be highly critical of the intent to chase that. You can't be 2 down for 20 after 10 overs and then expect to chase 340 with 8 wickets in hand. You're making life very, very difficult for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I did manage to catch sort of a reasonable amount of that first period for Pakistan. Went back and watched it this morning, and yeah, I just think that there's no real reason why you can't be looking to rotate the strike, or there's so many opportunities with this fast outfield. We've talked just in these first 15 minutes that you just have to get it through the field. So yeah, I don't know. New Zealand bowled really, really well. Matt Henry's a tremendous bowler. Will O'Rourke is really, really coming into his own. But I think it shows that if you were in, you have to go on and get a big, big score. You can't get 50s in this. I really think that's going to be the determining factor in this tournament. You can't. 50s aren't going to win you games. I mean, maybe if like a Glenn Phillips gets 60 off 39 balls, and that puts the icing on the cake. But you need you need people to get hundreds, and that's going to really be the difference maker. Because we saw even like Kushdil Shah comes in, they're 150 for 6, and he scores 69 off 49 balls. And Harris Rauf was hitting it at the end, Naseem Shah at the end. I mean, I don't know. I guess on the flip side, are we concerned at all from a New Zealand point of view that death bowling might be an issue? Because I mean, look, this is a 60-run win. It's great for the net run rate. It's absolutely perfect in terms of what we want. But I don't know. I suppose when you look through that New Zealand lineup, if we are going to go quite spin heavy, who bowls at the death? How do we sort of manage that scenario? Might be a question later on.
I mean, I don't think that's a new question for New Zealand cricket. I think our death bowling has consistently been a bit of an issue, even with the likes of Sodhi and Bolt in the side. I think that we've got to do what we've always done, and that is take wickets consistently throughout the innings. Try and knock a couple off at the top, and then take wickets throughout the middle. Even the pace bowlers came back in their next spells and took wickets as well. That is how we've operated. That's the sort of key to our game plan, is to consistently take wickets throughout the innings. If they don't, we're really going to struggle towards the death, because we don't have that capability. It's never really been our strong suit, bowling at the death. So yeah, I think it's more of a let's sort this early in the innings rather than leave it for late in the innings. I think that's where our game lies. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think you're right. That New Zealand's going to succeed in this tournament with the ball by picking up early wickets. Trying to get a couple in that first 10, like they did today. Henry, O'Rourke. I've been so impressed with O'Rourke with the new ball. I mean, I know that all of that stuff around the test series, we were often saying, there was that debate. Should Will O'Rourke be opening the bowling? At the end of Tim Southee's career, was it sort of holding us back in terms of Will O'Rourke not coming in until the 13th, 14th over. And at the time, I was thinking, no, but it's okay because he's sort of more of a bounce bowler, and making the most of those conditions is actually okay. But you see him bowling this, and what we've seen in Pakistan, the way he's been able to swing the ball and really get the ball to go off the pitch at times, make use of that height as well. I mean, he's such a special talent. I mean, he can be a bit, at times, even like again at the death, he can go. I think that and he can be a bit erratic. He can bowl a few wides every now and again. But yeah, it's so exciting for us New Zealanders to see him develop at such a young age.
Yeah, Will O'Rourke's been good for plenty of the summer, and I think he's going to be good for us for the rest of this tournament as well. What does this loss, if we're looking further into the tournament, what does this loss look like? Oh, what does it mean for Pakistan having lost this game early?
Well, I think it makes this next game an absolute must-win against India, which, I mean, there's always a lot of stakes on any Pakistan-India game anyway, and, this is going to be add extra spice to that. I mean, for New Zealand, it's huge that we get this early win. You and I were talking yesterday about how important this game was going to be, and it's such a short tournament, you kind of can't afford to. Sometimes one loss can knock you out of the tournament, and the fact that New Zealand's been able to win by 60 runs, hopefully that net run rate, for our point of view, is good now, and that means that Pakistan has an uphill battle really to make this what they have to do is beat India and then hope that everybody in this group is going to beat each other so that two wins can get you in, because otherwise if they lose, they're basically out of this tournament, you would have thought. And then it means that if they, if India win against Bangladesh, win against Pakistan, and New Zealand can beat Bangladesh, the group's decided after 4 or 5 days. So yeah, I mean it's a big game. Every game in this tournament's going to feel big. I mean, we're looking ahead, I suppose, to India, Bangladesh tomorrow. Is there anything you're on the lookout for? We were sort of pretty dismissive of Bangladesh's chances in our preview. They've been quite disappointing, I suppose, since they weren't great in that ODI World Cup in 2023, and they haven't been very good since then. Yeah, is there anything you're looking out for on either side?
Yeah, I guess if I start with Bangladesh, I guess I'm kind of looking at what they're tactically doing from a bowling perspective. Most importantly, you could never count out Bangladesh on the subcontinent, especially when they're playing a side like New Zealand. We do tend to struggle against Bangladesh in the subcontinent, so it'll be interesting to see what they do there and what kind of fight they put up with both bat and ball. But for me, the main focus will be what does India put out as their starting 11, how they're going to do that tactically, and whether they can carry some of the form that they've had in the England series through with the bat is going to be interesting as well. But it's a great little smorgasbord before everyone's looking forward to that India versus Pakistan game on the 23rd, which will be very exciting. Any key points that you're looking out for?
Nah, it's the same for me. It's a matter of trying to figure out what this India side might look like, and how and I guess how these pitches might play in Dubai. That's going to be a big factor for everyone that's going to have to go there in this first group, and then obviously if there are any knockout games in that part of the world as well, because I think we've seen a slight change now in Pakistan on what these pitches might look like. So that's probably, out of everything, actually, the pitches is probably the biggest watch for me. Anything else you'd like to mention before we wrap this one up for the day?
No, I think I wanted to talk a little bit about what New Zealand's selection looks like. Maybe we'll do that as a preview to their next game because it'll be interesting with people putting their hands up and Jameson now being available. But look, great victory for New Zealand. They executed on both sides of the ball. This was the blueprint of a good win. I'm happy that versus how we prepared for the 2020 World Cup last time round, this preparation was much better. I think we've learned from how we played so poorly in that 2020 tournament, and we've completely changed it for this one. So good job to the coaching staff and everyone involved.
Good job indeed. Is it? Yeah, very, very happy day for us here in New Zealand. We hope we will be able to bring you many more of those from a New Zealand point of view. But yeah, as I said, we'll be trying to do these wrap-ups every morning. We apologies for the little technical difficulties that I've had to stitch things together. Hopefully it isn't too bad for a little break here at the end. But yeah, it's been lovely to join you and to discuss a mighty Black Caps win on day one of this Champions Trophy. So enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll hopefully see you all again tomorrow.